Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and The Brit. And today we're going to talk some U.S. men's Olympic basketball. And quick, we're going to talk a little bit about my Milwaukee Bucks, Fear the Deer, NBA champions. I'm still excited. I can't believe it. I thought this was going to happen 2 years ago, and then it didn't. And now I started to feel like, is this ever going to happen? I was worried Giannis wasn't going to resign, but he resigned. I think this is great for the NBA. I think a small market team that's not a super team, that had a superstar with two stars, not three superstars, is really good for the NBA. But I'm, again, really excited. Fear the Deer.
Yeah, I mean, I was so happy for you, man. I was so buzzed for you because the two teams that went to the final, actually. So shout out to the Suns for playing a great game as well, because they did a very, very similar thing. One superstar in Chris Paul, and then a lot of emerging stars. Devin Booker is going to be a legit star,
right,
of the NBA. A lot of emerging guys. So it's great to see both teams doing that. It kind of reminds me of Leicester City winning the Premier League, over those massive super teams. But Milwaukee, what a great way to do it. The only things that I really know about Milwaukee is the Louis Theroux documentary on murder in Milwaukee. That's gun violence and crime. So it's a great thing to see what I imagine to be a pretty rough city getting a win.
Yeah, and here's the weird thing. So it's been some years, so if I'm wrong still, guys, don't crush me, but the worst side of Milwaukee, or the roughest side, is the north side, and the stadium is literally 4 blocks from the north side. But then downtown is Marquette University and different things like that. So, but Milwaukee's a pretty old city too. So this is where the Cream City comes from. It was built with these bricks that had cream in it. So there's still white stuff, like buildings and stuff in Milwaukee. But the greatest thing for Milwaukee is they've been close a few times over my lifetime with NBA championships. And they got a guy like Giannis, but the ownership came in, and I know not a lot of people love them, but they did what needed to be done. They built the Deer District. Fans got behind them. There was 85,000 people outside of the stadium when they were winning this game. Giannis played amazing. Giannis in that game 7 just said, in the second half, give me the ball, we're not losing. That's really what happened. Or in game 6, in the second half, he was like, we're not losing. He made one of the most incredible blocks I've ever seen. He went 17 for 19 shooting free throws, and I don't want to get into a ton of it. Devin Booker's complete stud. I can say this for the first time, Budenholzer out-coached another coach. And
that defensive switch to put Middleton on Chris Paul would change.
Yes, and Middleton stepped up when he needed to. And even when Jrue Holiday was not hitting shots on the defensive end, that steal, everything he meant to that team, it was amazing. I think it was great for the NBA. I think it was great for the Bucks. And I don't got a whole lot more to say about it except fear the deer.
It's that hardworking nature of the whole team that makes you relate more to the fans. It's something that English football really gets behind. It's something that's really important to
Milwaukee's real blue collar.
It's something that's really important to Welsh rugby fans, English football fans, where the people on the pitch or on the court in this case resemble the people that they're playing for. So it's you wouldn't want to put loads of flashy players on the pitch for a working class mining town in the UK, in the same way that you wouldn't want to have these flashy splash players who don't defend. You wouldn't want to put Durant, Harden and Kyrie Irving on the court in Milwaukee, because it doesn't represent the people. What represents the people is Giannis Antetokounmpo, who decides to play hard every single play. Sometimes there's going to come a point where you have to say to him, chill out. Like, stop playing hard, otherwise we're going to lose you. Middleton, who defends hard. Drew Holiday, who defends hard. Like, it's great to see that team win. It's like when the Mavs won. That was the last time this small, like, obviously Dallas isn't a small market, but like, it was the last time this kind of team won with Dirk Nowitzki and at the helm of that team as well. I think
it's still
it's
a
great
bigger
thing
city,
for basketball.
but the best comparison is probably San Antonio.
Yeah. San Antonio was like their players are superstars now, but like,
right. But I'm just saying, I lived in San Antonio for a year and a half. It's a small city, kind of like Milwaukee. It's probably one of the smaller markets that you can compare to it, because even Cleveland's a bigger city than Milwaukee and San Antonio, and being closer to New York, and they had LeBron, so that's always the market's bigger, right? But just Giannis saying, I don't want to be on a super team, I'm going to stay here and win one. Him and Middleton doing this for 8 years together, working on the same goal. I think it's awesome. And I know I'm a homer and it's great, but I think it's really great for the NBA. And I think maybe you'll see another superstar one day want to stay in a smaller market and do it this way.
There's a different way to do it. That's the best thing about sport, is there is a million different ways to try and achieve the same goal. And everybody tries to go into this copycat league. Our favorite sport is the NFL. It's our favorite thing to talk about, like as much as we can. Obviously, we're trying to cover other stuff when the NFL season's not on, but that is the copycat league. And it's nice to see somebody else do it differently, do it in a different way to everybody else. And they had to go through that super team that was built in Brooklyn, and that made it even more sweet. The fact that they had to go through Brooklyn, and you can say everything you want about the East. The East isn't as good as the West in basketball. That's the truth. But the East have the champions, and they have the Brooklyn Nets. So they had to go through the Brooklyn Nets, and now they're the champions. So, hey, they beat the team that they're the complete antithesis of, and that is a great thing for the NBA. And what is a great thing for what I think world basketball is, the superstar on that team was Greek. He wasn't American. And that brings us nicely onto our next segment, which is we're going to have a little chat about how the US isn't all that in basketball anymore. Well,
and with the U.S. losing to France, and then they lost some of those games before the Olympics started.
They just beat Nigeria as we're recording after their win against Nigeria. So it's not
right. But so they lose to France. Everybody loses their freaking mind. Now there's this weird thing where you got to run up the score just in case, because you took this loss. And why don't you tell people what you were saying before I say what I think, because I'll step on your point with what
Yeah. So what I was saying to Jay before we started this video, because we chat about the videos before we record them. We're as natural as we possibly can be, so we don't give away everything, but we like to have a way of the way everything wants to go. And we were talking about, and it gets mentioned every now and again, we're talking about rugby and cricket. So rugby and cricket are two sports that England created. They're English sports that got transported over the world due to colonialism and all of that nasty stuff that me and Jay have spoken about on his podcast, Real Talk. Whenever you want to go check that out, make sure our viewership go and checks that out as well. All of that nasty kind of stuff gets transported across the world, and eventually the people that you transport that sport to are going to start beating you. Now, that's been happening to the UK for a long time. So in cricket, they're about to get their butts whooped by India. Like, obviously, India was a English colony. England are about to get their butts whooped at a sport that they invented by India called cricket. And obviously, that was a sport invented by England. They also invented rugby. New Zealand are the best rugby team in the world by quite a long way. South Africa are the world champions of rugby. Not England. England have won one World Cup in rugby in 2003. And that is what you guys are going through in basketball now. You guys have made an amazing sport that everybody loves. Like, loads and loads and loads of countries love basketball. It's especially popular in Eastern Europe, where the countries are a bit poorer. They don't need as much equipment. It's really, really popular over there. And those players are starting to get better and better and better. And it's now at that point now where the US, I still think, are going to win the gold medal. Like, let's get that straightforward. But you have Luka Doncic, Jokic, Kristaps Porzingis, a personal favorite of mine. My girlfriend's Latvian, and he's Latvian too. So a personal favorite of mine. And that's something that should be seen as great. Basketball has never been as brilliant across the world, but everybody else is freaking out.
I don't disagree with anything you just said, but in the US, I think where people are pissed off, and I'm not, I understand it, but people are mad that our best players besides Kevin Durant aren't over there. Like, they're mad Anthony Davis is not over there. They're mad LeBron's not over there. They're mad about, these guys not being over there playing for the U.S. team because we've been so dominant since the Dream Team, except for the one Olympics where they shit the bed and got a silver. But everybody expects us to go over there with our best players, win by 50, hang up the things and come home. Yeah. And if we lost with our best players, I think they would take it better than they're taking it with the team we got over there right now. I'm not that guy, but I think that's where the anger from the U.S. fans are coming. Also, you made a comment that it's very normal for China and the U.S. to win things in the Olympics. And it becomes to the point where it's almost like if you don't, it's a disappointment. Like, we're supposed to win basketball. And if we don't, it's a letdown. You know what I mean?
And as it rightly should be, I just want to put that out there. If the US team doesn't win the gold medal, they should be disappointed. It's what makes the US both infuriating as an outsider and so incredibly admirable. The fact that you guys just believe you can win anything. It's a great attitude to have, but it's also infuriating because winning is everything. Whereas the US played England in rugby last month, and I messaged you, like, you didn't know that they were playing. I messaged you saying England just beat the US by 50 points. The US played really, really well. And you're like, what? I don't get it. How can you don't play that sport, so you can't, like, you're not going to beat the world champions and everything. I think that's a great, it's a great American thing to have, that you believe you're going to win every time. But I think the country's going to have to come to the realization that your sport is so incredible that you invented that other countries are now going to get good at it. There's going to become a time where you can't just call yourselves world champions for winning the NBA.
Before you get too crushed by Canadians, basketball was invented in the U.S. by a Canadian named Dr. Naismith. Just throwing the Canadian love out there.
You know what I mean. Like,
I know what you meant, but
yeah.
You know how the internet is. So I
know how the internet is.
Out there in front of that.
Yeah. Okay. Whoever invented basketball, it's a very successful sport. And it's something that should be appreciated. No longer is one team, each team has one token European who's the best sixth man on their team. Now you have Luka. You have entire franchises built on the play.
The best player in the NBA right now is Giannis, and it can change year to year. Greek. Yeah.
Giannis is Greek. Luka Doncic is Slovenian. Nikola Jokic is from Serbia. Kristaps Porzingis is from Latvia. Like, you can make an amazing team of play. There's an entire franchise in the NFL built on the play of Europeans, and it's the Dallas Mavericks. And that's my team in the NBA. As I only started properly watching the NBA, like, probably about 3
That was actually a good way to rip my heart out, because I remember when the fucking Bucks traded Dirk Nowitzki for Tractor Trailer. If that wasn't the worst trade in my franchise history, okay, that's a whole nother story.
But it's an incredible thing, and I get why people are freaking out that you lost to France, but you got to remember that the entire French team is full of NBA players too.
I get it, but I think if you would have lost to a team with a Giannis or a Luka on it, they'd have handled it better too. But I think it just boils down to, and it doesn't help that guys like Stephen A. and Skip Bayless scream this shit all the time. But they're like, our best players aren't there, which gets everybody else worked up. And it's like, so what is the difference in the NBA? Not the top 5 players, but take your 6 through 10 and then your 10 through 15. There's not a huge gap, you guys, you know? Like,
yeah, if you were to say to me that the US always send their best players and they just haven't this time, I would be like, oh yeah. But when
right.
Like the last time they sent their best players was the Dream Team, and they smashed everybody by like 100. Like
right, and then there was Kobe, LeBron team, but yeah,
exactly. They don't send their best players like every time. It's just maybe you have to send your best players to win now, and everybody sends their best players in every other sport apart from soccer, football. You don't.
What do you think about maybe the basketball should do what soccer, football does, and it's under 23 except for a couple players each team, right?
I did, because that's unfair on the, like, if that's the US, then that's fine, but that's not really fair on the.
But that's what they do in the Olympic soccer. Their team.
Yeah, but a lot more countries play. A lot more countries play soccer. The US can either. The US can either send their best players and see what happens.
Like, how old's Luka? What is he? Like, if you'd have got him when he
20.
So you get him, you get these younger guys, and now it's just the Devin Bookers, the up-and-comers.
Yeah.
And now it's a bunch of young teams, and now nobody's mad at these pros that already were there for not going again.
Yeah, I mean, the Australian team would be pretty pissed off if you did that, because they have like 4 amazing NBA players, but they're all like 30, you know?
Yeah, because what's his name from the Spurs? Ginobili, isn't he playing in this?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so yeah.
There's some like but like it's a good thing to do. But what either the US send their best players and realize that the other teams in the world now are really good, or you accept that you're going to lose to a France, you're going to lose to a Nigeria, teams that have all NBA talent now. So like Rudy Gobert was playing for that French team, and wasn't he a defensive MVP in the NBA?
Yeah, he gave the whole league COVID, but besides that, like
yeah, exactly. Obviously, but there's some great players in the NFL. I mean, the other teams aren't exactly sending their best players. Like Latvia aren't there because Kristaps Porzingis wants to rest because he's always injured.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just telling you the mindset of what's coming.
I understand what you mean. So it's either send your best players and see what happens, and if you lose, you lose, or accept that you might lose. But I mean, the USA is still probably going to win the gold medal in basketball. Let's be real.
Well, okay, but even if they win it this year, to your point, it just means at some point you better accept the fact that it's going to get.
Everybody else in the world is going to get good at a sport that you've created because it's a fantastic sport.
Just like I've been trying to tell you after CONCACAF and Gold Cup, we're willing to come and take the Euro Cup too.
You're not allowed in the Euros. We don't let you guys anywhere near it. It's sacred.
I have this feeling, I have this argument. If Qatar can get in that thing, then we're next. I'm just saying.
Qatar aren't allowed anywhere near the Euros. They can go like that. They can go to all the other ones, but the Euros, no, that's fair. That's. We're not having another team trying to kick Wales out of the Euros.
Doesn't matter. We'll see you next year or next winter in the World Cup.
That's it. One quick thing about the Olympics. The Great British Rugby Sevens team are playing the US Rugby Sevens team in a couple of days.
And you said we have a pretty good sevens team?
Good sevens team. Yeah, just because it's like...
You're going to watch that, right?
7-a-side. Yeah, it's really good. 7-a-side.
Message me.
Rugby on the same pitch. So the fact that you guys have rugby players who can run 100 meters in under 10 seconds is going to work to your advantage. So that'll be a really fun game to watch. I think anybody who wants to like get into a new sport, I think watching rugby sevens at the Olympics is a great way to go about it. And shout out to Team GB for doing really well. I mean, we're not on the same standard as the US, but obviously you guys have 350 million people and we have 65 million people. So I think we're 5th in the medal table at the minute. So shout out to Team GB. as well.
No, yeah, go Great Britain, go US. Like I always said, we're pretty much cousins. So you know what I'm
I
saying?
think basketball is probably one of the only sports that we're not in the Olympics. So you guys go for it. You guys go win the basketball. Whatever you want.
We're not even in soccer, so if you're in that, you can have.
Are you guys not? I didn't know that.
No, we didn't qualify because we send our C team to try to qualify for the Olympics, I guess, like not our best players.
We do like a really cool thing around like rugby. And so normally we compete as like England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, but then in the Olympics they take them and just put them together just for that one event. They compete as Team GB football, Team GB rugby. So that's a really cool thing as well. We're starting to really get off topic now into the Olympics.
Yes, make sure you remind me though, Maddie. Send me a message and then I'll put it out on Yankee and the Brit when that rugby's coming up.
Yeah, of course.
All right, guys. Well, tune into the Olympics because you guys, we almost missed it. We almost missed this Olympics. They talked about canceling the whole thing. So if you really enjoy it, make sure you watch it because we almost didn't have it.
Any big Olympic topics, we'll try and cover as best we can across the things. So if you guys love the Olympics, give us some love on our videos with the Olympics. We love doing videos about all kinds of sports, even if we don't have a clue what we're talking about. Let's go. Let's watch some handball or something, Jay, together.
Well, hey, Maddie, you know, next year with the Winter Olympics, we'll be talking about some curling.
Best, dude. It's my favorite sport in the world.
All right. Olympics. Thanks for watching, guys. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.